out. Let's see. So the last thing I like to do is take a few minutes and just talk through the class. What things did you like and what things would you do different? Is there anything that you would spend more time on, less time on, etc.? So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to kind of bring this up. Well, I guess you guys can't see the screen, but I've just got if you need help remembering, you can just go to the course schedule and kind of scroll back through and see what's there. But everybody, I want at least a couple pieces of feedback on at least one thing that you would like to see maybe more of, or something you'd like to see less of or changed entirely. I have no emotional attachment to any of these projects. In fact, some of them, like the first video editing project, I'm so sick of that I will do anything to have a new video for people to edit next semester. I think the project is good, but that's just the skills that you're learning. It doesn't have to be that video. So take a turn, raise a hand, and then or just kick on your mic and tell us what you like or what you would do different.
I think I liked the project where we got to talk about like our own lives a lot, but like we did so much of the like editing like your family photos that like it felt like it didn't make sense to me. So like I wonder if there's any way to like mush the two together so that way like you're seeing more
Mush which
like
two
different
together?
projects, like the family photos project and our own lives. Like
Okay.
mush the two together so that way like you're seeing two different projects in that, like you're seeing different projects from everyone within that first project.
And thank you for that, for sure. Having talked about this a little bit with a couple people, what would you all think of the audio project? So project 3 being more like project 1, where you're given a stack of maybe sound effects and a specific thing, maybe a specific, like one story or something that you're going to read, so that you're all working on mostly the same files. And then the first one where you really get to kind of tell your own story or do your own thing is this final project. So I was trying to kind of like build every time to get you guys there, but I feel like that project 3 could really benefit from everybody just working on the same project first. But love to hear your feedback on that. Would it be okay to you to wait until the final project to have kind of that freedom to talk about what you want to talk about? How would people feel about some of that as a possibility?
Yeah, I think that would be good because it's more cumulative. Like, so
Mhm.
you're like working by yourself for a lot of it, or like on like things that everybody's working on. And then this final project is where you get to like kind of finally show like
Put it all together.
your like what you have,
Yeah.
and add your, I think that'd be nice because I think maybe project 3 was a little overwhelming in some aspects.
Yeah.
And so it would be nice to like build it up a little bit more slow.
So maybe in project 3, we're just like mixing a video. So we start with an existing video that maybe needs some sound effects. We go through, we transition that into Audition. So we just learn how to mix it, solve the most common problems, and then add in from, I'll give you maybe a library of sound effects, just a specific chunk. So it's less time hunting for them, but then everybody can go through and you've confidently mixed all the same thing so that when you then apply it to project 4, you're like, yeah, I know this process. I've gone through it. Okay, I love it. Sweet. Good feedback, Adriana. And by the way, I am recording this so I can go back and review these. But that's great. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think just going off of that a little bit, I know for me, one of my biggest struggles with Project 3 is that I was trying so hard to focus on the audio that when photoshopping all of my photos came in, I felt like a little overwhelmed and stressed.
Yeah.
But one thing I loved about the class is I feel like the sequence of how we learned things was really, really helpful to me. For example, like I loved how we started with Premiere and then went into Photoshop and then went into Audition. Like, for example, if we like would have started with Audition, I would have been very overwhelmed. So I just love the sequence of events, and I feel like that helped me learn more in the other platforms. So I really love that.
Excellent. Excellent. Very good feedback. Other people, something you'd maybe not even change. I am pretty sure I'm definitely changing project 3 in this direction for next semester, but I'm always open to additional tweaks or other changes. Anybody feel like the order of things you would have liked to have done them in a different order? Because I've now tried multiple orders, and this one definitely seems like has achieved the best end results based on the videos I just saw. But yes, Mo.
Not necessarily like order, but I feel like I definitely was a lot more prepared for this project than any of the other ones, just because everything kind of built off of each other.
Mm-hmm.
Except I would not have known how to like edit my audio from my interview in Adobe, and just like I feel like project 3 was so large, it got kind of overwhelming. So I definitely think that having stuff to pick from would have made it easier,
Yeah.
because this obviously was just like multiple smaller things that we had done all through the semester, but project 3 was just very overwhelming with
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah. Very cool. Well, that is definitely on the agenda too. Although I am contemplating doing video editing, then mixing the audio of a video that will be a little interview, not like the not just the original one, but we've actually been talking about taking like a full-on little news story that maybe from the Belmont Vision that you get the raw files for, and everybody goes through and edits a story rather than just like the drone video. And then in project 2, you go through and you mix that story, you add sound design to that story. So you get really comfortable, with it. And maybe you start to learn how to do the animations of some visuals. Project 3 then is the Photoshop, where you're just maybe not doing much sound design, but maybe just a little. You're recording your own narration, and then it's mostly focused on Photoshop, and then you roll in the final one. What do people think about that? Would it matter if we swap the audition in Photoshop, if it built on one another like that? Would that make sense? Okay. Okay. Very cool. And good stuff, Mo. Thank you for that too. All right. So other questions, feedback, thoughts, or improvements? I love it.
I
This
want to say
every
one more
every
thing.
piece of feedback I get is like something that I can make just a little bit better about this class.
Can I say one more thing?
100% you can.
I
By
also
the way,
kind of feel
this
like,
doesn't close at any point when you guys are home over Christmas and you're like, oh, you know what? Screw that third day on Photoshop. Like, just text me. It's fine. Like, I'm done. I didn't wanted to wait till the grades were out. Like, it's fine. I'm not. It's all good. Okay, go ahead, Daisy. Sorry.
the last thing that I wanted to say was that like I kind of feel like putting them in a different order would make more sense. Like if we put like Photoshop and then Audition and then Premiere. Maybe that was something that you just talked about and I'm just like putting it in a different order in my head.
Mm,
But like I feel like Photoshop and then Audition and then Premiere makes more sense because like
interesting.
we use the photos in the Premiere project,
Mm-hmm.
but then we went into Photoshop and then we used those Photoshop things in Premiere. So like I feel like maybe if we like did it all as one sort of like big long project, if
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
So like we Photoshop photos and then we make audio for that project and then we compile it all into one big project in Premiere.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get to use all of those skills on another totally separate project.
Interesting.
Like,
Okay. Yeah. Okay. You know what I'd love is either touch base with me. Maybe we could chat about like how you might envision that, because I'm always interested in ways that could be structured, as long as especially it feels like it builds every time, but it's still achievable. It's like I read a study recently where they said if you can essentially give somebody a task that's 4% outside of their current abilities, that's kind of the optimum amount. 4%, because every time you go to tackle it, about that 4% jump, it's like it makes you stretch, but it not too much. You can't, you're not overextended. All right, so here's one last thing we're going to do then. We're going to run around, and in 30 seconds or less, I want you to tell me one thing that you can do now that you couldn't do at the beginning of the semester, and one piece of advice to future students, because every semester I think, gosh, I wish I had some videos from all these people that did this amazing work last semester that I could say, hey, if you want to see a piece of advice from people that have just gone through the ringer on this, here's some feedback from them. So I'm just going to go around and one at a time, just give us 30 seconds, give a piece of advice. You can speak it directly to them. Hey guys, what I would do if I were you next semester is blah, 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 because now I can do this that I couldn't do before. Got it? So just something like that. There's no particular, you don't have to nail it, but 30 seconds or less so we can just get you guys out of here on time. So we'll start up here in my upper left corner with Adriana. Adriana?
Yeah, I would think something I definitely learned is I had a little experience with like video and photo editing on my phone, but I had no idea I would be able to do it all on this software and everything, especially the audio component. I feel like I feel so well versed in that now, and I had no idea I'd be able to do it before. I feel like one of the biggest pieces of advice I would give is I remember when I first started the class and I opened Premiere, I felt so nervous to like press a wrong button and my whole project would delete. So I would say, don't be afraid to challenge yourself and try new things. And I think also spacing out the time and like really planning out when you want to film things or edit things just so you're not cramming it all in one night.
Beautiful. Excellent. How about Hannah?
Something I learned was video editing. I literally had no clue how to do any of that, and now I know how to do, some of it. And then something that I definitely would not do again would be procrastinate a lot of these projects. So definitely like get a head start if you can.
Okay, very good. Good piece of feedback. Mo.
I definitely learned how to like actually do stuff in Premiere and organize everything. I feel like Premiere is the biggest success that I had, and I'd say learn to time manage because I'm not great at time managing, and I just feel like the projects got bigger and bigger as the semester went on, and I feel like I should have time managed a little better.
And yet you still got great results. Good
And
job.
I still turned it in.
Still got it turned in. All right, we'll do Mary and then we'll do Evie. Mary.
Something I learned was just like more computer literacy, like that first week where we're just like, practicing those keyboard shortcuts over and over again. So my piece of advice is just definitely practice those on your home computer or wherever, because it's actually so helpful. Like you're like, oh, it won't make that much of a difference. I'm so much faster on my computer now and I don't feel like an old man. So
Nice. Awesome. I love it. Thank you, Mary. Evie, then Madison. Evie.
Yeah, I definitely learned a lot about Photoshop. Photoshop's something I've like wanted to learn for a really long time. And I feel like there are just so many, like, I really liked how we did all the different types of photos. I definitely learned a lot from that. And then advice, dittoing on the time management. I think that like, you're like, oh, it's a 30-second video. It won't take me that long. And then something happens or stuff to troubleshoot. So definitely start early because it takes longer than you think it will.
Awesome. Very cool. How about Madison, then Lulu?
Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, I had never touched like Adobe Creative Suite like in my entire life. I had no experience with video editing or Photoshop or anything like that. And so just to see how efficiently and quickly that I worked, especially on this project, as involved as it was like, good job, Madison. And yeah, thank you so much for how you taught. I also thought, I want to say this earlier, the tutorials that you had outside of class that we could access, I think was also really, really helpful and would help me personally. Advice that I would give is firstly, always know where your flash drive is and put it in a very specific place, because the amount of times that I've had heart attacks of like, where the heck did it go, was just not good for me. So, and then also the advice that you give about making sure you have those shortcuts in your muscle memory, like doing it 10 times, do not take that for granted. Like do that because you will forget it.
Yeah, excellent. Awesome. Lulu, and then we'll go to Trent.
Yeah, something I definitely learned was how to work with ambient sounds and sound effects. I had never really worked with that before, and it was really fun to learn. And an advice would be to always make sure that your recording hardware is actually working before you record the whole project.
We've all learned that lesson before too. Thank you, Lulu. All right, Trent, then Zoe.
One thing I learned was the command tab option. That shit's awesome. I use it like every day now. I would say when looking to get a flash drive, make sure you get a like legit, not cheap one, because I bought an Amazon basic one and it like crashed on me and broke after like the first week.
Okay, good piece of feedback. All right, great. Trent, let's see, how about Zoe, then Caitlin. Zoe.
I didn't really know much about video editing before having this class, so that was really important, and I feel like will be useful somewhere in the future. Not sure where, but somewhere it'll be useful.
I expect an email from you the first time you're in a job where you're like, oh, hey, you know what? I could do a quick video about this. And they're like, you can? And then you knock one out and they're like, we got to keep Zoe around. So I guarantee that is in your future.
Yeah, or even like some future like school project too.
Yeah,
it's like
absolutely.
Next semester, I could be doing it magically again for some school project.
Yeah, and a piece of feedback or advice for future
students. And then
students?
advice, I think it's just, I think it's just important to like stay on top of the stuff and not get too behind on it. It was definitely a lot less stressful working on top of it and being ahead and yeah.
Awesome. Great advice. All right, Caitlin, then Lily. Caitlin.
I had never touched audio before, so working with Audition was new. Yeah, that was just really interesting. I struggle with that. But my advice, honestly, just come to class, because having the walkthroughs that you do in person are at least for me, like super, super helpful. And it was just a good way to like, I could come back home and first of all, I could look at the videos that you had on top of that, but it's kind of like muscle memory already because I had done it in class with you already. So
yeah, awesome. All right, practice those shortcuts. Lily, then Kenya.
I came into the class with some Adobe experience, but it was mostly self-taught. And I feel like I learned things that I would have never even like thought about, like were options or anything. And I feel like that enhanced what I had already learned. And then advice is just file management and good flash drives. I feel like you don't really think about that, but it really comes in handy.
Excellent. Awesome. All right, Kenya, then Daisy.
Something I really learned in this class would have to be, I feel like I learned that you can really tell stories through images and videos. And something that I would have for advice would have to be to come into class because you'll have questions that was already spoken on in class. So if you just show up, it'll be easier.
Yeah,
So yeah.
100%. Great stuff. All right, Daisy, then Will.
So because I have such a background in Premiere, I think this class like really taught me that like you're allowed to have fun with your videos. Like you don't have to like have constant control over them all the time, and they don't like always have to look like they were like totally professionally made. Like they're allowed to look fun, they're allowed to be funny, you know. And then the two like pieces of advice that I would have are pay attention to the key commands. I know that someone already said that earlier, but like for real, like I work on a PC. I don't even work on a MacBook, but like in Adobe, I've used them for a while, but you taught me ones that like I still didn't even know. And then also use your hard drive outside of class because it gets you used to like using it afterwards because you spent money on it.
Yeah.
You're not going to return it afterwards. Just use it. It's going to be helpful. Mine is like a 500 megabit one, and I ended up using it for like other projects outside of this. And it is like not saving my life, but it's a lot more helpful than like constantly having to, you know, use up all the storage space on my computer.
Yeah. Excellent. Great stuff. All right, Will, then Skylar.
Something I learned, I've done a good amount of editing videos and photos for a while, but I've been able to do a lot just on my phone. So it was cool to learn. I've always like, I think Evie said, like I've always wanted to learn how to use Photoshop. But I think Adobe in general is kind of an intimidating thing to go into. And I've like tried watching YouTube videos, but I don't know, it's just a little scary. So that was like introduction to it. And then advice, I would say just like don't be afraid to ask questions. I think I felt really stupid asking questions a lot because I don't know, I just assumed other people knew it, and I don't know. I didn't sometimes know how to word my questions, but I think just asking questions is important because then you won't be confused.
Absolutely. Good stuff. All right, Skylar.
So I came in with like absolutely no video editing experience. So the fact that now I'm able to put together a video with like, you know, somewhat professional looking transitions. And also I think learning Audition was something that I just have a feeling is going to come in handy later. And then my advice would be to definitely learn the shortcuts in the beginning because I feel like that helped me a lot because I really would practice them like over and over again. And then also with the first few projects, especially like doing little bits of the project outside of class so that when you come in, you kind of get your tutorial and it's even more beneficial than if you just come in without being a little bit prepared. It's like learning it twice, which helps. So yeah.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, y'all, thank you for an amazing semester. I will have these grades up shortly, and I'll have all of your comments downloaded as an Excel file in there. As always, when I see you in the hallways in the future, or if I see you in a future class, I'm excited. I love what I do. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to do it and making class such a fun experience every day. Have an amazing Christmas break, and I will hope to see you in the new year.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Have a great one,
Professor
y'all.
Adam, I'm gonna turn in my reflection in like the next 15 minutes. That was the one thing that I didn't get finished was that reflection.
100%. You're totally fine.
Yeah.
And I just had a quick, if it's a grade question, should I like do it another time?
Hang on, let me just stop the recording real quick and stop.